Hello and welcome to my channel. This may come a little late, but regardless, it needs to be discussed. This month there were allegedly discovered emails, photos, and videos on an abandoned laptop left at a repair shop in Delaware. This is what allegedly happened. According to Jim Hoft with the Gateway Pundit, he wrote, Hunter Biden dropped off 3 computers with liquid damage at a repair shop in Wilmington, Delaware on April 12, 2019. The owner, John Paul MacIsaac, examined the 3 and determined that one was beyond recovery, one was okay and the data on the hard drive of the third could be recovered. Hunter signed the service ticket and John Paul MacIsaac repaired the hard drive and downloaded the data. During this process he saw some disturbing images and a number of emails that concerned Ukraine, Burisma, China and other issues. With the work completed, Mr. MacIsaac prepared an invoice, sent it to Hunter Biden and notified him that the computer was ready to be retrieved. Hunter did not respond. In the ensuing 4 months, May, June, July and August, Mr. MacIsaac made repeated efforts to contact Hunter Biden. Biden never answered and never responded. The article continues, when the manufactured Ukraine crisis surfaced in August 2019, John Paul realized he was sitting on radioactive material that might be relevant to the investigation. After conferring with his father, Mac and John Paul decided that Mac would take the information to the FBI office in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Mac walked into the Albuquerque FBI office and spoke with an agent who refused to give his name. Mac explained the material he had, but was rebuffed by the FBI. He was told basically, get lost. This was mid-September 2019. 2 months passed and then, out of the blue, the FBI contacted John Paul MacIsaac. 2 FBI agents from the Wilmington FBI office, Joshua Williams and Mike Dzielak, came to John Paul's business. He offered immediately to give them the hard drive. No strings attached. Agents Williams and Dzielak declined to take the device. 2 weeks later, the intrepid agents called and asked to come and image the hard drive. John Paul agreed, but, instead of taking the hard drive or imaging the drive, they gave him the subpoena. It was part of a grand jury proceeding, but neither agent said anything about the purpose of the grand jury. John Paul complied with the subpoena and turned over the hard drive and the computer. A couple of months went by and Mr. MacIsaac did not hear back from the FBI. This prompted him to contact Rudy Giuliani's office and provide the hard drive to his team. Because Mr. MacIsaac decided this, Giuliani took the information to the New York Post. Here's a clip from the Louder with Crowder show on YouTube where Rudy Giuliani was a guest host and spoke about the information he has.
This is a bombshell in New York Post. What is it, if you have to give them the bullet points? Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, what's the implication here?
Hunter Biden and Joe Biden are involved in a bribery scheme in Ukraine. And Hunter Biden and Joe have for years said that Joe knew nothing about Burisma, the company that paid the bribe. He knew nothing about his dealings in Ukraine. And what there is a cold, clear group of text messages in which Hunter Biden sets up a meeting to the number 2 person in that company with Joe Biden.
Right.
Who then texts Hunter back and thanks him. So it makes Joe a complete liar for the last 7 years. It shows that he met with Burisma. I think it's not on his public schedule, but we have another one where Hunter Biden was snuck into the back of the State Department, so his meeting with the Deputy Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, isn't reported, because if he had the meeting, it would have violated the Foreign Agents Registration Act. So I mean, there are plenty of very, very damning things with regard to Ukraine on the hard drive. The main one being that Joe Biden's been lying for 7 years about it and knew all about Burisma.
Have you seen the pictures of him with the crack pipe?
John Wright, I have.
Oh, wow. Let me ask you this, Mayor Giuliani, how did you get that hard drive? Because this is the crux of the New York Post article being throttled right on social media. They said that you've been working with a Russian agent, or that it's entirely false.
Actually, I got it directly from Putin. No, he sent it to me. He
You are
sent it
not
me
going
in
to
the mail.
believe who likes hash pipe.
Putin sent it to me, and he said, I don't even know. He just wanted a couple of bottles of vodka in return, which wasn't bad. I mean, it cost me about $150. I sent it to Putin.
Right.
And
if you send him
it's
something
got
better
Hunter
than Grey
Biden
Goose,
there
he'll show you the heroin
It's got Hunter
pictures.
Biden there with crack pipes. It's got him there doing an imitation of Anthony Weiner about 50 times. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I do.
It's got some very disturbing things on it that I shouldn't joke about. And here's how I got it. Hunter Biden brought his hard drive into a repairman to repair it. The repairman took it. Hunter Biden signed a receipt for it, which I have here, and said he was going to come back for it. 2 days later, he came back and gave him a part. And then when it was done, he never came back. According to the agreement, after 90 days, the hard drive is abandoned under the law, and it belongs to the merchant. The merchant held it for another 3-4 months, and then he heard all this talk on television, and he started to get worried. What do I have here? This could be criminal evidence.
Right.
So he opened it, and he almost fainted. He said, "I never saw anything like this before." And if you looked at the photographs, you'd probably come to that conclusion also. But then he took a look at the text, and he saw in the text major contradictions to what the Bidens were saying on television, like the one I just told you.
Right.
Biden was saying, I didn't know anything about Burisma in Ukraine, and there's plenty of evidence that he did.
Can I ask you a question, Mayor Giuliani? Because, you mentioned Anthony Weiner, and, I sort of came up under Andrew Breitbart. Before it was Breitbart, it was Big Hollywood, and I was there for the Weiner scandal and Acorn and all of that. Here's my question to you, because obviously you know that the left is going to come out and say, well, this can't be corroborated. That's the basis on which Facebook and Twitter have throttled this story, despite the fact that they were covering stories that were verifiably false regarding Trump calling the troops suckers and losers. But how do you go about then behind the scenes making sure that New York Post, or have you offered any evidence to anyone other than New York Post to corroborate? Because obviously New York Post believes that this is real. They've confirmed it. But is there any way for you to get the media to confirm it behind the scenes so that we don't run afoul of social media, or do they not care?
If they think it's not correct, sue Rupert Murdoch. You don't, I mean, he had it for 5 days, and they did everything they could to verify it. They're convinced that it's real. Not only that, I internally verified it. There are things on that hard drive that only Hunter Biden would know, because those things were given to us by anonymous informants. Dates, for example, that aren't public. Dates of meetings that were never recorded in the State Department or the White House in order to hide them. And the hard drive comes up with exactly those same dates. That could only have been known to Hunter Biden. His pictures all over it make it pretty clear that it's him. His signature is on the receipt for it. The gentleman can identify him as Hunter Biden. And if you read the internal messages, they're quite consistent with what we already know. It describes a transaction. In China that I think we all know. It's in Schweiker's book, almost exactly the same as Schweiker does it, except it explains that when the money was transferred, the Ukraine thing is exactly what the 5 witnesses told me, all of whom want to come to the United States and testify under oath and are being blocked from coming to the United States. And I mean, this is really ridiculous. This
is mad.
Lawyers. In fact, I'll give you something that really verifies it. The very morning this came out, within about 20 minutes, Hunter Biden's lawyer called the merchant and asked him if he could have the hard drive back.
Really? Yeah. Well, that's that also reminds me I need to call Geek Squad.
We have the email evidence of that.
Wow, that is.
So if the lawyer is asking for the hard drive back, it must be the hard drive.
It obviously verifies that it's the hard. Hey, you can leave, Bryce. Yeah, I'm talking with America's mayor. I apologize for that. He overstays his welcome. That is now. Is there any record of that? In other words, like the lawyer reaching out to this man, I would imagine.
He actually did it by telephone and by email. We have the email.
Good. That's almost as though it makes it worse on them, Mr. Giuliani.
Oh yeah, it's the dumbest thing a lawyer can do, but who says this part?
Would you advise your clients?
Joe Biden was the dumbest kid in law school.
Well, I was just saying, would you advise your clients if someone came to you and said
to him
This is
I
actually
was
my hard
introduced
drive?
to him by his law school classmate, the dumbest kid in our law school class, but he's a nice guy. He cheated his way through.
Oh
Remember,
my
he
God.
plagiarized in law school.
All right, well, Mr. Mayor Giuliani, we're going to have to get going here pretty soon, but let me ask you, is there, what else can we expect? Obviously, the relations now with China and the leverage that China could have on a Joe Biden presidency came out today. What else do you think is going to most surprise people, since you're kind of, this is a drip from this hard drive? What is there something? Can you give us
Well,
any kind of?
I think as the second transaction in China comes out, you're going to see him being involved with a Chinese communist operative, an intelligence operative, and it's quite obvious that he's setting him up. He's setting Hunter Biden up, and he's setting Joe up for extortion. I think there'll be more emails and text messages that make that clear. I think you're going to see more emails and text messages that describe how Joe was compensated, how he was getting a portion of this money. In fact, he was getting a large portion of this money. And it'll explain also how Joe Biden, who never really made much money, has 2 or 3 very, very luxurious homes.
Right.
Because he didn't pay for anything Hunter did. So this is a long-term bribery scheme that started at a low level in Delaware with his brother James selling his office, holding the money, taking care of Joe. And when they got to the big time, they shook down Iraq for, I think, about 500 million. Ukraine for about 20. China, I don't know. I mean, 30, 40 million.
Right.
Oh, gosh, I missed Russia, the 3.5 million from the mayor's wife, who is a good friend, by the way. We're kidding around about Putin. That woman is a close ally of Putin.
Right.
So we have the irony that the president was accused of falsely of colluding with Russia, but Biden actually got paid by Russia.
Well, I'll give you one more.
Here are 2 images of the subpoena documents outlining what Mr. MacIsaac needed to relinquish to the courts, evidence he has been trying to give to the FBI in the first place. This first image shows the title page of the subpoena with Leslie Wolf, Assistant United States Attorney, being the one named for requesting the subpoena. The second image is of attachment A. This is a short list of what items Mr. MacIsaac was required to bring in. It lists an Apple MacBook Pro laptop computer, and a Western Digital external hard drive. And here we have a billing document detailing the service that was provided. It says it was billed to Hunter Biden, with the phone number 202-552-9396, and the email rhbdc@icloud.com. The date on the invoice is April 12, 2019. The description says, data recovery for MacBook Pros. Attempt data recovery from 3 MacBook Pros. Recover data to store server and contact customer when complete. There is also a signature which is to be presumed as Robert Hunter Biden's. You can make out the letters RHB. And lastly, on the very bottom of the document it reads, equipment left with redacted after 90 days of notification of completed service will be treated as abandoned and you agree to hold redacted harmless for any damages or loss of property. In the event of non-payment, redacted reserves the right to remove any equipment or parts installed. This concludes my report. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe.